if you're like me and the vast majority of other people out there, this is the time of year come January where you start making new plans for yourself. Like you either have New Year's resolutions that you want to implement, or you have new business plans and strategies. And there's a lot of planning and hoping and wishing that a bunch of different things are going to happen. And they just don't. they kind of lose steam once you get to the middle of January, end of January. And in addition to that, with the pandemic happening still here, especially in North America, here in Ontario, we have a new state of emergency declared, so people are supposed to stay at home. These kind of things really can weigh on you and really put a damper on implementing the plans that you hoped for yourself for the coming year. So Rebecca is going to have a seminar to teach you how to kind of get past that. And maybe we're going to talk about one or two of those kind of roadblocks. So I am going to bring her in. And here she comes. There she is. And
oh!
Rebecca. Thank you for being here, Rebecca. I talk to Rebecca regularly, so if we bug each other for the rest of this thing, you'll know why. It's very much like a brother-sister type thing. We just like to know each other. So
yes. You more than me. You take the sort of the elder brother role.
I take full advantage of being the instigator.
Any opportunity.
Yes, especially. Well, especially with you, because I like you. That's what you do. I don't, and I know you can take it, right? So
yes.
But I was mentioning as sort of the lead in, and we talked before too. Like you have this webinar coming up next week, From Planning to Profit. So we are going to be talking about just the things that people do that kind of hold them back. Like I mentioned just a second ago, it's January. So people have made New Year's resolutions, new business plans, new strategies that they want to implement. But usually midway through January, end of January, the steam just kind of goes away out of the engine.
Yep.
And on top of that, like we're dealing with the pandemic still here in North America. Here in Ontario, as I mentioned, there's a new state of emergency declared, so people have to stay at home. These are just a lot of different stressful things. A lot of people are feeling very fatigued. So to kind of maintain the energy to now implement some new plans, it's hard. It's just very hard. So that's why I have you here. You're a certified high performance coach.
I am.
What does that mean? I'll let you sort of give your sort of elevator pitch as to like what you do, how you help people, and that sort of thing.
Sure. Well, most people know me as the sort of the social media person, which I still am. But what I found with a lot of the work that I did in social media is it would solve like a little corner of someone's business. So whether I was generating leads or sending emails, but it wouldn't actually move the business forward. So I decided 2 years ago to figure out, why is it that people can't move forward? Why is it that if you provide a solution over here, that it doesn't actually solve anything? So it's supposed to be a solution. So the certified high performance is where my research took me to, because it's based on science, and I love science. I love stuff that's based on fact. I love stuff that's based on like the rational reasons as to why things work or don't work. So what the certification allowed me to do, which is, I always keep it active, I get recertified every year, is to understand the basics of what makes people successful. What makes them successful not only in the short term, but in the long term. And so the webinar, like you were just saying, From Plans to Profits, I did it specifically because at the end of last year, I saw a lot of people doing workshops on like, set your plan for 2021. And even at the beginning of the year, do you have your plan? I have some of my private clients that some of them have plans, some of them don't have plans. And there's reasons for why people don't have plans, or either don't know how to plan, or they really feel that no matter what goal they set for themselves, they have this insecurity of being able to accomplish it. They have an insecurity mostly around consistency. So the webinar is designed around the science behind what will make someone be consistent over the long term, which will allow them to not only achieve their goals, but actually it'll help them exceed them in the long term. So it's kind of a whole bunch of stuff that I'm piling together in one very simple, it's about an hour and a half workshop that people will be able to actually create their plan, but then also learn the habits and the science behind being consistent, because that's what gets people. It's that consistency, like you're saying. By the end of January, everyone's like, they're pulling back, they're getting busy, right? Usually on stuff that doesn't drive the business forward. And then by May, you have this huge panic because you're nowhere near the goal you set for yourself. And then you're like, ugh, then you freak out, but you've missed the spring market. Yes, I want to help people avoid that.
No problem. And if you look into the comments, anybody who's watching on Facebook Live, and if you're going to be watching this on YouTube, it'll be on the screen in the comments below. The link to the webinar for next week. It's a free webinar. You can
Totally
sign up
free.
there, and you'll get notifications, so you'll know when to join in, and you can participate directly with Rebecca, and then get some more information about how she can help you even beyond the webinar. But getting back to that, like I agree, and we talk about this all the time. As full disclosure, I've been in a bunch of different of Rebecca's programs over the years, either as a participant or evaluating, and a bunch of different things. So I'm very familiar with what Rebecca talks to, because we talk about it all the time. And one of the things that you do say all the time, which I know I've heard it in other places too, is that you do fall to the level of your systems.
That's right.
And that goes back to the habits, right? It's about creating those habits that are going to get you to the next level, right? So help you to implement those plans. But maybe just quickly, let's take a different approach to it. Like, what is the habit that stops people from implementing? What's one of the bad things that people do that, like, again, what it could be, like, I know you had a big rant about Clubhouse the other day, which I like to call the Discord server for old people, because
That's exactly what it is.
it totally is, right? So I'm just like, this is where all the old people go. It's like the easier version of Discord. It's like if they made a senior version of Fortnite. It's like, okay, you guys can go there and play and talk about your stuff.
That's my favorite. It is now Discord for adults.
Discord for adults is what it is, or seniors, yeah.
Seniors.
But yeah, so there's that one of them for me is the distraction, right? Because I'm trying to myself be very active on social media as part of my real estate business. So again, I'm in referral groups on Facebook, which is great. That generates business. I'm also trying to communicate with people, and I'm trying to put out content for people to see. But at the same time, that means I always kind of have that desire to be tuned in to anything. But I'm out with clients, and I have other paperwork that I need to get done, and I have other things, and then I have to implement marketing strategies, and I have to I have to attend seminars with you to talk with you and stuff. So what is one of the things, aside from that one, like the social media distraction is a big one for sure. What's maybe one of the other things that you might be discussing in the webinar that people most commonly run into? Like,
well, inconsistency is the big sort of like the umbrella statement. But what I like to figure out is, where does that inconsistency come from? For a ton of people, it's quitting too soon. It's not seeing something through and doing it day after day. And where habits really can help is in those boring times when you're doing the same thing because you have to do the same thing. And if you keep doing that same thing, you're going to get the hockey stick results. But it's that baseline, almost flat line, slight result kind of thing. That's the hardest time to just to keep on going. But the problem that I'm finding with most people, this is again a huge part of the webinar and the workshop. It's not a webinar, it's a workshop, because it's live and everyone gets the worksheets ahead of time. So you can actually punch in the stuff that I'm talking about live on the workshop. But the problem is, the work people do does not directly tie into what's actually going to help them achieve their goals, right? So they'll kind of scatter. They'll touch that, touch this, touch that. They'll start down a path and then pull back for a whole bunch of reasons. And everyone's got their dirty little secret. And that dirty little secret is really the underpinning of where the inconsistency comes from. So for some people, it's a fear of failure. So anytime they do anything, they're coming up against it. So they might run a Facebook ad, but they're afraid of it, of not working, so they don't actually execute. But that's the same thing with sending an email or making a phone call. So that same bad behavior permeates everything that they do. So when you understand, okay, what's the issue? Inconsistency in what? Oh, executing my plan. Okay, what's the real reason that I'm holding back? Oh, like I'm afraid. And some people are afraid of success. They're afraid I'm going to hit my goal, and then I'm not going to sustain it, and that's worse, right? It's worse than not even hitting it. So I might as well not hit it.
I was just going to say the fear of being successful almost, and then you get into that, which we've mentioned in your book that you have out as well, but the self-sabotage, where it's like,
totally,
you have the ability and you definitely have the experience and the skills and the system. But you have that fear of success because now there's expectations that come with that you're going to continue that success, and people are going to depend on you and that sort of thing. And you're afraid, again, it is ultimately a fear of failure because, but that initial thing is like, well, it's weird to say. It's like, well, what if I do well?
Yeah.
Then what? Like,
It's,
what if
it's
I
so true.
what if I actually do what I say I'm going to do?
Hmm.
Then what comes next? Like, what,
Yeah.
where do I go from there? And
Yeah.
it's odd to think about, but it is these mental roadblocks that we put up for ourselves, right? And we
Hmm.
just kind of, yeah, it's
Yeah,
horrible.
because I can give you the best tool in the world, but if you're not tuned into what the real issue is, like why you're really not picking up that phone, right? Why you're really not sending that email. Well, well, I think I'm going to be bugging them.
Right.
Where does that come from, right? Like what's really going on? And you be honest with yourself, and you're like, oh, because I had a client this week, he was saying something along those lines. He didn't do something he was supposed to, and I said, did someone tell you that? And he's like, well, no. And I'm like, oh, maybe it's not real. And
Yeah.
we like live on the call, we got him in. It's like, hey, you're going to send an email to this guy. So he wrote it out, and I helped him out because he's making it all about himself when he really needs to make it about the client. And so we just kind of wordsmith that, and then away he went. But I also had a client this week specifically around the fear of success. So I worked with her last year, and I'm working with her again this year. But last year, by August, I think she'd sold a house, like one, all year.
Mm.
And she needed to be able to hit the 100,000 mark. Like it was
Right.
a requirement. And she, of course, started out with me negative. Nope. Assumptions here, assumptions there. Won't do this, won't do that. So we pulled apart all those little things. By I think it was in a month, she made 96,000 in commissions in a
Yeah.
month. Right. And then we had she had this thing where like there was a home that closed, I think it closed late 2020. So it's like, where do you put the money? Do you apply it to 2020?
Now I'm making
or
too much money.
Yeah.
That's just not a bad problem to have.
Exactly. So then I said to her, okay, well, what do you want to do next year? And she's like, oh, I want to do 200,000. She says, you know what? And I'm like, what? She's like, I like money. And I'm
Yeah,
like, yes, it's
that helps.
fantastic.
It helps
And
with a lot
so,
of problems.
it really does. It doesn't solve all of them, but 99% of them are
But a lot of them, yeah.
significantly alleviated when
A
you
lot
can
of the
have that.
stress. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I kind of picked up on one of the things you said there. It's like in those boring times, and
Yeah.
that's kind of I heard somebody say a long time ago. I think it was my friend Sarah Kelke out in Edmonton mentioned it once, and I've heard it other places though too, where it's like to be successful, you got to get comfortable with boring.
Yes, very
Right?
comfortable.
Like there's, I mean, and you can delegate. Like, and you talk about that as well. How you can, the things that you're good at and not good at, and just sort of getting rid of the things that, like almost like a Marie Kondo kind of thing. If it doesn't spark joy, just give it to somebody else. But especially if you're starting out and you're just trying to get going, you don't necessarily have the resources to do that. So to build it, there's there's paperwork that you got to do. There's forms you have to fill out. There's taxes that we have to do, and there's all these other things. And if you're going to be successful long term, you got to do those things, right? And at least initially.
Yeah, absolutely. But if you build in a system, then it's not so boring because you're just working the system. Like I have a webinar system. It's very, very simple. Invitations Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Webinar Thursday. Follow up Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Rinse and repeat, like over and over and over again. And sure, it's a little bit boring, but when you automate it, you're not like boring is when you have to always recreate that. That's when boring becomes burdensome, right? But it doesn't have to go that way. It can just be boring in such that it's not, you don't need to create something new. But the exciting part is looking at the results roll in. And that's where you need to kind of put your excitement. So don't put your energy into thinking negatively about the messy middle or the boring parts and all that kind of thing. Look at it as like, but look at the results I've achieved. Like I made more so far in this month, almost as much as when I was running my agency at full bore, like 40, 50 clients, right? And my take home pay is way, way higher because I don't have 14 staff. I don't have all the technology, but I was able to get those results in this month because of what I've been doing for the previous 6 months. Right.
That's amazing. And again, it's just finding the thing that you want to do, right? Like I know you talk a lot. We're not going to get too much into it now, but you did a journey from like what was your agency into like finding something that was more what you feel to be like your purpose, your
really helping people,
and that that starts the process, right? Of finding that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So let's just go bare bones here, or like the nuts and bolts of it here. So if someone signs up for your webinar today, like I said, the link is in the comments. Actually, they're going to get worksheets ahead of time.
Yes, so the worksheets, so the webinar itself is on Thursday, and all the worksheets come out Thursday morning. So Thursday at 9 Eastern, everyone's going to get the worksheets. So it comes with an Excel spreadsheet, I like a planning spreadsheet, a personas, sort of how to figure out who you're targeting, because you need to know who you're talking to in order to plan to get results from those people. So that all comes out Thursday morning, and then the workshop is 1 o'clock. Bank for about hour and a half. I just always give a little bit of extra depending on the kind of questions people may have. And then there's a couple of other worksheets that I'm working on to pull together to make sure that coming out of this, everyone can not only successfully have a plan, but have the system that will allow them to execute on that plan and achieve their results, usually twice as fast than if they weren't using this particular system. Because it's all about what makes you money. Pick 3 things maximum that you can do, that if you did those 3 things consistently and tracked your progress, would lead to more business. So what are those 3 things? How to track those 3 things? And then the spreadsheet, it's really cool because I worked in finance for a year. So I love spreadsheets. It's all automated. So
Perfect.
you just basically put in numbers here and here and here. And it's like, whole thing happens. It's really
So
cool.
that's perfect. So you sign up for the webinar, you will get a reminder, of course. The day of, you'll get some stuff that you can kind of play with ahead of time to get an idea what's going on. The workshop, not the webinar, it is a webinar, that's a workshop. Is interactive, so they'll be able to ask questions and get feedback right on the spot. And then obviously there's, like you said, follow-up material. But then also an opportunity to get in touch with you to continue on,
or to check it over. Like for some people, exactly. If you have struggled with it, like, there'll be a link, you can book a call straight in with me, and we're just going to go over that. Obviously, I do coaching. If you want to talk about it, that's great. But if not, like, the call is not about, me pitching you. The call is about making sure that your plan is set up properly for 2021.
And again, the workshop is basically, like I said, it gets you started. And if you can take the ball from there and go on your own, that's great. It's free material, free information. But then if you need some assistance, like you said, then you're available there to provide that help. Right?
Exactly. And I have group and private client options as well. So, there's lots of different ways that you can get whatever help you need for any price point.
Awesome. And if you go to RebeccaMountain.ca, which I don't have in front of me, but if you check it out, that's Rebecca's main website. So there's a bunch of different programs there. You can order a copy of your book there. And then like I said, the link to the workshop is in the comments below. And that's about it. See, that's the Lunchbox. It's quick, 20 minutes. And I do appreciate you jumping in. Now we can Now we can go eat lunch.
Yay!
Thank you so much. I will let's maybe follow up in like a month or so and see kind of where everything's going and keep the ball rolling.
Sounds like a
plan.
See
you soon. Thank you so much, Rebecca.
Thanks.
Have a good one.
Thanks.
Bye. And that was my good friend Rebecca Mountain. Again, the link to her workshop From Planning to Profit is in the comments below, or it should be somewhere here on the screen, somewhere if you're on YouTube watching this. I do appreciate you all coming in and hanging out with me for today. I'm going to pump up a local business. They're not sponsoring the show or nothing, but these guys right here, Deadly Grounds Coffee, deadlygrounds.ca. I buy stuff from them all the time. They make good coffee, and they even have a mug, my Deadly Grounds mug. It is very good coffee and hot chocolate and other things, and obviously merchandise, that kind of stuff. They are located in, I believe, in Vaughan or Newmarket. I usually end up seeing them at comic book conventions, but we're not really having any in-person ones this year, and we are locked down, but you can still order from them. Go to deadlygrounds.ca. They do local delivery within the GTA within reason, and they do believe they ship across Canada. I am not sure about the United States, but check them out at deadlygrounds.ca. They've got some amazing products there. If you're not a coffee, tea, or hot chocolate person, which, I mean, you're weird if you're not, number one. But if you're not, and you just like fun t-shirts and horror movie, zombie type thing based marketing, which they do a lot of, and they do an amazing job of, grab one of those things and help support a nice local business. Thank you all for tuning in. We'll see you next time on The Lunchbox.